Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast interview series. Today we have a special guest from the west coast of Canada, right in Langley, BC. He is the owner of Vantage Pools now, but he was not the one that started it. His father started it back in 1996. We'll get into that. We've enjoyed conversations at some of the pool and spa shows over the years. And until recently, I didn't know this about him, but one of the things that we have in common is the fact that we do enjoy doing the odd polar dip. So maybe we'll get into talking about that. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to just thinking about not only pool and spa when it comes to pool and spas, but also we're going to get into talking about networking with younger minds and how that can work as for your advantage as well. So without further ado, let's bring out Rhett Bradshaw. Hey Rhett, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Steve. How about you?
I'm doing really well. I've been a little bit under the weather this week, and I saw you guys. It's like 14 degrees there and sunny today, is it not?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's not typical temperatures for us, but it feels like summer started. All of a sudden, trees are blossoming, flowers are blooming. It's great.
Yeah. Well, here it's been snowing for the past few days, and so we've had kind of the sunny days, the sunny warm days, and right back into winter. So it tends to mess with my sinuses or something. So I'm just getting over a cold. So I apologize if my voice gives out at any point. But no, I think this is going to be a good one because, like I said, we've talked a little bit over the years at some of the pool shows, and you seem like a very stand up guy, and so I'm very happy that you've decided to come on the show and kind of share a little bit of your knowledge. So thank you.
Well, don't set the bar too high. No pressure, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess maybe we'll start off if you could share a little bit about how Vantage LeisureScapes got started, and maybe when you came along and started working in the business as well.
Sure. Yeah. So my dad got his start in the pool and hot tub industry back in the '70s in Ontario, actually subcontracting for mermaid pools, digging in-ground pools and putting them in with a small crew of guys. And years went by. He had a number of different jobs. Our family moved out to British Columbia when I was just a little kid from the Ottawa area. And he was driving a truck at the time, got laid off when things got slow. And he said to himself, hey, you know what? I know how to build swimming pools. Why don't I give that a shot? So he started doing that. He got in touch with some of the other local pool builders, helped them out on some of their projects, started getting some of his own work, and was literally just working out of our family's house in the garage. And as a young guy, still in school, during my summer breaks, I'd be out with him installing pool liners, digging trenches, all that sort of thing. And just over time, the business gradually grew. We started getting into service, selling supplies, things like that. Moved from the garage of our family home into a small warehouse in an industrial area, just behind where we are currently, and we kept growing from there. And now we're, depending on the time of year, somewhere around 15 employees between all of our various departments in retail, service, construction, that sort of thing. And yeah, my mom and dad are still involved in the company, and myself, and the great people that we have working with us.
Wow, that's amazing. I was actually curious on like how the connection with Mermaid was there because at first I'm like I know like Mermaid had their own style of coping, so I was thinking maybe they sent it out to you guys or I don't know how all that worked, but I didn't know that you were originally from the Ottawa area. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, yeah. I was born in Ottawa, and yeah, we moved out here in '86. Expo '86 was in Vancouver that year, which was really cool. Got to see some of the exhibits and stuff like that. But that's how I always remember that. My welcome to Vancouver was the big exhibition.
Wow. And why Vancouver? What led your family to want to move out there?
Yeah, my dad had family out here, so my grandparents were here, his brother and sister. So although my dad was originally born in Winnipeg, most of his close family, and along with tons of his cousins, he has a massive extended family. We're all out here in BC, so it's just nice to be close to family.
Wow, no doubt. That's that's amazing. You guys kind of span almost nationwide by the sound of it. Anyways, okay, so your dad starts the company in '96, and gradually over time, you keep expanding. You move out of the he moves out of the house, and you start taking on more products and carrying more products, I guess. When did you guys make the leap into, I think, joining IPG? Was that the first, or were you LeisureScapes uh, through and
Yeah,
through?
so that's a good question. So that's kind of a long-winded story that I'll keep short, but we initially joined the LeisureScapes group. We were a small group of pool and hot tub retailers across Canada that was primarily a marketing group. We loved networking. A lot of us had great ideas for things we could implement in our business. We'd get together annually, share some of those ideas. But the challenge for us as a relatively small group, I want to say there was maybe somewhere in the early days around 20 dealers from various parts of the country, and we'd have these great ideas, but we really lacked the resources to implement a lot of them. And we were hearing about some other pool groups in the industry that were doing fun and great things, and Ron Balak, who you know well
Mhm.
from IPG, the independent pool group at that time, uh, met with us and we talked about the idea of merging our groups together and sharing, even more resources, ideas, buying power, all these things that can help make strong businesses and help us have the opportunity to present our clients with great service and products at good prices. And that's what happened. We finally merged the two groups. We became the international pool group, and within that group, there's that smaller group of dealers who have now branded themselves as a LeisureScapes store. Um, I don't know if you want me to go on a little bit more about that concept or what's involved, but
Well, yeah, I guess because I was more familiar with the IPG side, and this is, um, I guess, for the listeners, we're talking about a couple, I guess, buying groups in the swimming pool or pool and spa industry that merged together. Was it 2018, 2017, 2018, somewhere around there?
yeah, right around there. Yeah,
Yeah, and so you had IPG, the independent pool group, and you had LeisureScapes came together. They rebranded into, I believe, International Pool Group, which also involves part of, I think, Carecraft, is it, in the States?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, our American counterpart for sure.
Yeah. So um, basically, a stronger group, you kind of have more pull in the industry. And not only that, but when you're networking in general with more peers and colleagues, you guys can share more information with each other and see what's working for people and what maybe isn't working for people and all these different ideas. Now, one thing that I wasn't so much aware of is you said it's more of a LeisureScapes was more of a marketing group. So how does that? Maybe you could elaborate a little bit about what you meant by that.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. We were this group of dealers with tons of great ideas, and we knew we could benefit by spending time together and trying to do, some things the same way. But the reality was we were so small, we actually weren't a buying group. A lot of the manufacturers didn't even recognize the little bit of uh, you know limited power that we had together. So we really didn't have a lot of buying power as a group. We just had these great ideas. And so we'd come up with marketing plans. We would pool money from our businesses and say, yes, we'll all contribute X amount of money to come up with this plan for, marketing our business and try this advertising venture. We developed for a period of time a magazine called Backyard Escapes, and it was a really cool idea at the time, during a time when we did much more in print than we do nowadays. But we would be able to get some advertising dollars from many of the manufacturers, in some case from other local tradespeople, whether it was, landscapers, irrigation people, plumbers, get them to buy ad space. And we'd be able to come up with these magazines where maybe we'd have a little bio about ourselves. So there might be some local articles about our business or things that are important to us. But then there would be some national sections of the magazine that would be common to each dealer's own magazine. And it was great. It was a great selling tool to really showcase your business when you're talking to clients about pools and hot tubs and what differentiates you from, Joe's Pools down the road, whatever it is. So in those early days, it really was just marketing and idea sharing. And that's part of why merging with the independent pool group at the time was important to us, because we wanted to have that buying power that they had, and we wanted to have some more resources to take on some of the larger ideas that we had that we weren't able to really fulfill at that time.
Right on. I wasn't aware of all those details, so thank you for filling me in on that. I'm curious. You mentioned that the Backyard Escapes magazine, which I think is a phenomenal idea. It reminds me of like Success Magazine or Success from Home magazine, kind of the same sort of concept. And so now, as you mentioned, the physical print isn't really focused on as much in this day and age. So I guess how have things maybe changed since the merge, and have you been able to implement some um, I guess maybe newer marketing plans or something um, I guess kind of similar to the Backyard Escapes but more digitized, if that makes sense?
Yeah, we talked about actually making the magazine digital, and although some people like that idea, we have so many tools now available to us that just didn't exist in the past. We have a plethora of social media platforms. Uh, you know, Blogs are super common, podcasts, all sorts of things to help, share ideas, inform consumers, educate people about who we are and what we do. So there's a lot to choose from now. As part of this group, we are able to participate in social media programs where we can say, yes, I would like this post, this post, this post on this day, that day, this day. Um, there are customizable tools, support for local events. Like we have our big spring event coming up, as many other dealers do, and we're able to, get items printed for that, uh, in-store materials, all sorts of things. Everything from company apparel to towels and robes for our customers that are branded with the LeisureScapes on them. There's just a wide range of things available to us. Um, and some of them just because of the advances of technology, others because there's so many people contributing to the program that it just is much more feasible to do these things on a larger scale.
That's amazing. I'm with that. I guess when the merger initially happened, a couple years after that, we had uh, the pandemic hit, and so I'm curious, how did that not so much affect your business because it was that's kind of a grand question in amongst itself, but I guess was it easier for you to adapt more to the online platforms moving into that era because you were a part of this group?
Yeah, interesting question too. I don't know if I would use the word easy. It seemed like there was nothing easy about the pandemic, but it felt
Yeah.
like it was a decision that um, we almost had to make if we wanted to stay in business. We did change some of our processes, and fortunately, yes, because of the group, we had the means to do that. So, as an example, many businesses, not just ours, um, started doing e-commerce and giving customers the options of purchasing online and picking up curbside in our parking lot or having home delivery. Whereas prior to that, we all knew the internet was there. It wasn't going away, but there wasn't as much pressure to offer those services or to get involved. Whereas at that time, it seemed like this is what we have to do if we want to be able to serve our customers and you know um, maybe keep our doors open in whatever way we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, just mentioning the e-commerce portion of that, and to be able to do the curbside pickup, it definitely, at least in my mind, it seems like it would be you would have a lot more resources with a group like this as opposed to you know Joe Blow down the street who's maybe doesn't have all the technology at his fingertips. So um, I guess that would just be another advantage for being being a part of the LeisureScapes or the International Pool Group.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm a big advocate of supporting the industry any way I can, whether people are a part of our group or not. I feel like we owe it to each other to help each other out, share information. But you're absolutely right. Having the actual means, the ideas, the resources available to implement ideas is something that we may not have been able to do on our own. And often, there's somebody out there that's already implemented an idea, tried something, failed, tried something, succeeded. And to be able to learn from each other and see what's working, what isn't, how we can do something better, it's just another benefit of being part of this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really cool that like you said, you're more apt to help build the industry as opposed to, you know, we have our group and this is we're gonna talk amongst ourselves and ignore everyone else. So that's really cool. And probably one of the reasons why you chose to come on the show as well, because that's like the whole basis of this series, the Meet Your Contractor series, was because of that. I know we talked on the phone a little bit, and I had reached out to a bunch of different dealers, different builders from all across Canada to more or less research some of the horror stories that had happened. And you said that fortunately you hadn't come across um, really any of those stories in the last few years, which I mean that's really amazing. Here in Ontario, just last week I pulled up four different news articles of all these companies being charged with fraud, and
Wow.
they
Yeah.
just took a bunch of like an incredible amount of money. And the stories in all four, which they weren't the same companies. There was one in Windsor, one in London, one in Barrie, and one in Sudbury. So we're talking about 3 hours apart basically for each section there, and they all had a very similar tale. So, anyways, I just want to point that out, that I think it's amazing that you like to build up the industry, because I think it's something that is definitely needed in the industry, especially after the last couple of years with some of the things that have played out. So thank you for your dedication for that.
No, I think it's important to not only share our successes, but to help other people to be able to succeed as well. Um, we owe it to consumers, we owe it to each other, and the one of the things that I hate the most is hearing hearing a business bad talking one of their competitors or the pool guy down the road. You don't have to be best friends, but we can all help support the industry whatever way we can. And when we can share ideas, that's how we get better at what we do.
Absolutely. So speaking of sharing ideas, one of the things that you had mentioned in a previous conversation was about the importance of, I guess, networking. Excuse me, networking with younger minds, and so maybe you can share a little bit more details on that, and yeah, the importance of it, I guess.
Yeah, what made me think about that was when I was younger myself, I really appreciated some of the pillars within our industry, individuals who took an interest in me, uh, shared their successes and failures, asked my opinion about what I thought, what was working, what tools could be to our advantage, how we can do things differently. And we had some extremely valuable conversations. And although I still value many of those people, uh, I feel it's important for those of us who maybe our minds are now on the shriveling side to reach out to those young thriving individuals who are creative, forward thinkers who have fresh and different perspectives, and help them with struggles they may be facing, but also try to learn from them and see how we can better ourselves and how we can keep the businesses that we have thriving and being successful. We're in such a changing world, and I feel like if we allow there can be a big gap between generations, but that's not the way that it has to be. And it's as easy as starting conversations with people. Um, Sometimes that sounds like a difficult concept, but just taking some time to talk and ask, what's happening in your business, what's been a challenge or a struggle for you, what are some of the things that makes you appreciate getting up and going to work in the morning. Those types of conversations can lead to some incredible ideas.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm I guess with that, have you found kind of that approach to be more receptive amongst some of your own team members, and have you found more of a um, have you found more of a dedication to your company, or yeah, I guess people that like to stay around longer, because that's another issue that I've found with a lot of different companies is the retention issue. There's always a lot of turnover, especially in this industry, because it can be very seasonal. So I'm just curious, have you found people have been more apt to stay with the company longer, and would you attribute it to that sort of approach?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not a master at you know, implementing all of these ideas, although I see the value in them. We have a fantastic team here made up of a variety of ages of individuals. Um, and I do feel that when you give people the opportunity to share their ideas, when they know that that door is open to have conversations, they feel more valued. They feel like they're part of the team. They're not just, you know, a person coming in to get a job done. Um, there's always room for improvement in those areas too. And you're absolutely right. Again, it's hard to retain individuals, and it seems like there's lots of jobs in every industry out there. So, trying to create an environment where people want to stay, they want to be a part of it, they feel appreciated. Um, it can be a challenge. And I think, again, even just talking with young ones about what it is that they value today is important. Um, I feel like when I was growing up, often the mentality was, you're expected to get a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 job, and your motivation is your paycheck. And whatever the boss said, you just do it. That's not the common thinking today. And that's not wrong, it's just different. And so, for many employers, myself included, we sometimes have to get used to that idea of thinking outside of the box. Maybe people want flexible hours. People often have more than one job, and they don't always want the 9 to 5. And money is not often the motivator. For many people, they value their time. They don't want to wait till they retire to enjoy life. They want to be enjoying it now. And again, that's where having those conversations is just so valuable, rather than assuming we know what people want or assuming we know what's best for others. Just having some heart to heart conversations about their values, uh, what's some of their core beliefs, what makes them feel good. Those are things we have to start doing if we want to make sure that we have successful businesses still running, and that we're getting young people involved in our businesses today.
Absolutely. Where would you attribute to learning this sort of process from? Is this something that you've learned just over time, or maybe you picked it up from a book or a course or something?
Yeah, that's an interesting question as well. uh, I feel like for a while, and there's probably other business owners in the same shoes as myself, I was putting out ads for full-time employment for a number of positions, and wasn't getting as many responses or applications as I thought. As soon as I made the position part-time, those applications started increasing. Um, Also, attending many of our conferences where there's often um, breakout sessions for people under 40 or under 30. They start to share some of their core values, what they appreciate. There's also a book that I have not finished reading, but I think is probably something that can benefit many business owners. It's called Culture is Everyone's Job. And I haven't finished it, so I won't try to explain the whole book. But I think it hones in on the fact that we can't expect the workplace to be like it was 30 years ago, where everybody just comes in and bows down to their boss. uh, we have to include everybody in what's going on. Everybody has to be a part of the culture and contribute to what's happening there. When people don't feel like they're part of the culture, they leave to find that culture somewhere else.
Hey guys, if you're into hiking at all, I highly recommend subscribing to my YouTube page, Steve Leslie Hikes. That's Steve Leslie Hikes on YouTube. I have a lot of content on there from some of the crazy hikes that I've been on, including Angel's Landing in Zion National Park. And it'd be really cool to connect on there. So please check me out. Thanks. All right. Another thing that you had mentioned is the I guess advice for anyone with a small business looking to succeed, especially in this environment, because you know we're going through a bit of a change in the economic cycle, especially for the pool and spa industry after the last couple of years. So, is there any sort of advice that you could share for business owners who are looking to succeed in the coming years?
Yeah, so I this was shared with me through Dennis Gray of Backyard Brands, an amazing individual. It's always a pleasure to hear him speak. If you could ever get him on the show, that would be a great podcast to listen to. But he was recently talking about the need for having new, better, and different products. Uh, and it sounds simple, but here's the reasoning behind it. Um, Most of us sell products that are often um, considered what's the word? Um, Sorry, I'm blanking for the word, but products that you could potentially buy anywhere.
Like a
Whether
commodity?
in the pool world, that is the word. Thank you, commodity. Commodity products. So many of us sell commodity products like pool pucks, for example, that you can literally buy at any of the box stores. And we're expected to carry some of those products. Many consumers would think it was strange if they walked into our store and couldn't buy some of the everyday needs that a pool owner has. But where that can get dangerous for us is when we only sell those types of products. So uh, the example was given of Target. Um, Target retailers in the United States do a great job of selling products that often appeal to women, household products, and they differentiate themselves from one of the other biggest players in the game, who is Walmart. However, a few years ago, I don't know if you remember, Target opened a bunch of retail stores in Canada. And, people were all excited about it. Oh, wow, here comes Target. But they didn't stick to their traditional business model. Instead of selling products that were maybe just a tier up from Walmart and differentiating what they had, They tried to play in the same ballpark as Walmart, selling similar products at similar price points. And they failed. They couldn't do it. After a few years, every Target in Canada closed its doors and the company lost $2 billion. And that's a company with a lot of resources available to it. But even they couldn't compete in that arena. When you bring that down to, maybe mom and pop businesses who typically have much fewer resources, we're just racing to the bottom when we try to sell the same products as them, um, and compete on a price level. So where we can succeed is by offering new, better, different products. Uh, and I'm sure many of us, when we walk into any type of store, we're often looking to see what is new, better, different. We don't walk in there and ask to see, what they came out with 7 years ago. We want to know what's new. We want to be the first ones to have it. We want a new experience. We want something that somebody else doesn't have. We get excited about those products and those purchases. And the exact same thing applies for any sort of small business, not just pool and hot tub retailers, trying to differentiate ourselves. Um, we often have a 3 to 5 year window where those products are considered fresh and new, and we have the opportunity to get our hands on them before they're introduced to mass merchants. And that price drops, they become readily available everywhere. There's also some manufacturers out there that supply products that are never available at the box stores, the mass merchants, and those are great products for us to focus on too. So don't get me wrong, I'm not against mass merchants. I shop there, probably most of us do. So my pitch is not, that I'm anti uh, box store or anything like that. But one of the secrets to success for smaller businesses is not trying to play in their ring. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. This is actually a hot topic that um, I bring up quite a bit with a lot of my guests is just how do you decommoditize yourself, whether it's a different, not necessarily even a different product, but different experience with a product. Because like I've talked to people in real estate on this podcast, and at the end of the day, yeah, there's different areas of real estate. There's different types of buildings, I guess, that you could focus on. But at the end of the day, if someone's looking for, say, a single family home and they have, 1,000 different realtors to choose from, why would they choose to go with you? What kind of experience can you um, can you give them, or how do you decommoditize yourself? So I think that's a very important thing for people to think on is just what makes you different. How do you stand out? What do you do differently than the rest? And if you can build on that, and if you can add value to that, whether it's carrying different products, having some different services, or having different experiences with those services, it's you can go from being just a commodity to being someone or a business that people have to check out. Would you agree with that?
100%, yes. When you know uh, a customer decides to, get off their couch, leave their house, get in their car, drive to your business, walk in the door, and give you the opportunity to do business with them, we need to make sure that we've made it worth their while. It has to be a wow experience. We have to make it magical. We have to make them feel like they're important, they're valued. Otherwise, they could have just picked up their phone and shopped on Amazon, or you know, done the convenience shop when they're getting their groceries and decide to pick up some of those commodity products. Those aren't incredible experiences, but companies like Apple, you walk into their store and it's an experience. Um, they have uh, people coming up to you with the product in their hand, like everything about that experience. If you've ever gone there, it's incredible. Or Bass Pro Shops, they do a great job of creating a wow experience. Um, you go in there and you're just amazed at everything that's going on around you. The same applies to our businesses. If people walk out that door and haven't had an amazing experience where they're thinking, I can't wait to come back here again, we failed. We're missing the mark, and we're not giving them a reason to want to come back.
So then I will throw this question at you then is what does Vantage LeisureScapes do differently, or how do you incorporate um, the notion of new, different, I forget what the third part that you mentioned, but I guess how do you decommoditize yourself? How do you
Do
stand
that are
out?
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a constant work in process. It's not something where you can say we've done it and you can check that box and walk away. Uh, and it's not one thing; it's a whole combination of things. So everything from getting to know people on a personal level. Um, One of the things I was talking about my employees with this, one of the things that I can't stand is when I walk into a store and I see the salesperson that I think, hey, that's my guy. And I start walking up to him. I'm expecting some conversation, and he gives me a blank look like, hey, how can I help you? It's such a disappointment, whereas if I go in somewhere and, they greet me by name, "Hey, Rhett, how are you? What's happening? Hey, last time I saw you, you were talking about your dog. How's he doing?" All those things add to the experience, and that's part of our human makeup. We like to have experiences. We like to engage with other people, but the moment we make it completely transactional, that joy is gone. And that's when people will just shop out of convenience versus experience. So, getting to know people is important. Constantly looking for new innovations. You know, I also tell my staff when people walk in that door and say, "Hey, what's new?" We need to have a handful of things that we can tell them right away. Hey, check out this new inverter pump. We have, this is brand new to us this year. And, don't just launch into a sales pitch, but we need to think about why it benefits them, how it improves their quality of life. Again, they've chosen to come to us. We need to make it worth their while.
That's amazing. Rhett, that's what you just described. I'm going to recommend a book to you because I think you will definitely enjoy it because it's
Sure.
along those same lines. And I thought I had it on hand, but it's across the room. It's called What's in It for Them by Joe Polish. It's a bright yellow book, but I highly recommend checking
Excellent.
that
Thank you.
out for everyone listening, but Rhett, especially you. I think you would take a lot out of that just based on the conversation that we've had today. I guess time has flown by, so I guess lastly, how can people connect with you? How can they reach you?
Sure. So, I mean, if there's any young minds out there, like we were talking about earlier, I am on LinkedIn. Please connect with me, look me up. I'm on most social media platforms.
Rhett, thank you very much for joining us on the PromoMinds podcast. And I will give my send offs here if you want to say your goodbyes, and we can wrap this thing up. So much appreciated your time today, Rhett.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure for sure.
So that was Rhett Bradshaw from Vantage LeisureScapes out in Langley, BC. And I think it's so fascinating to bring up the fact, not just the young minds protocol, which I think is amazing, getting that different perspectives. Um, if you've listened to the show for a longer period of time, you can go back to, I forget what episode number it is, but Megan Coxworth, she had mentioned the fact that her and her dad working together as realtors kind of give that perspective as well. And but on top of that, the decommoditization of your business and how that looks to you, whether it's as Rhett put it, new, better, different. How can you do things different? How can you add a different experience? How can you add a more enjoyable experience? And he brought up some great examples too on what category, what people hold as valuable. And it could be as simple as a conversation or remembering a a component of someone's life. So, anyways, there's a lot to dissect in there. Really appreciate having Rhett on, and I, like I said, he enjoys building up the business and building up the industry, and so really appreciate having him on. Definitely check him out. We'll have his information in the show notes below. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast interview series. I'm your host, Steve Leslie. And until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of PromoMinds podcast. I'm Steve Leslie. And if you want help crafting your message or sharing your story, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. Love coming up with ideas, and we can have a nice chat. So reach out to promominds@gmail.com and I'll respond. Take care.